Good morning, Doug.
Hey, good morning, everybody. Keeps placing Mr. Stonks on our video. See if you can find Mr. Stonks. This is like the Where's Waldo challenge. We've been hiding him on our videos, and so here he is. Who is this guy? First of all, Keith?
He's some meme that they do. Our guest speaker last week, Kevin, was telling me a little bit about him because Kevin's familiar with him, but I don't know. It's some meme the kids watch. So I just try to be cool like the kids because I'm not cool.
This was this is yours, but I got one of these for Christmas this year.
Mine was a couple of years ago. Yeah. If anybody knows any of our followers, if you know who it is, keep us posted because we're kind of clueless. It's I haven't shared the disclaimer. We don't want you guys getting, I mean, you guys need to be careful out there. I said put campfires out. I don't, kind of hazy day. I don't know if this is those Canadian fires that are making it hazy or what, but last week for sure it was the Canadian fires. Have you ever been around forest fires, Doug?
Not that I remember. Well, in Colorado I was a couple of years ago, but I didn't stay long.
They're an amazing thing. And people will tell you they're all caused by humans, but lightning is the source of most of them, and you can't control lightning. I know some people think you can, but the power and beauty of a campfire or of a forest fire is it's regenerative. Like if you go someplace that's had a forest fire and then give it 5 or 10 years, it's unbelievable. I'd encourage you to go to Yellowstone. You can see it there where the regenerative process of a forest fire is just beautiful. It's an unbelievable thing.
So you're telling me Smokey the Bear lied to me?
Only you cannot prevent forest fires, folks. You cannot I said put your campfires out, but you can't stop them. We were in Flagstaff in 2006, our first RV trip, and this hippie, he had the whole long hair thing going. He's got the yellow tape. He's wrapping up the camp grills, and he's telling my little kids that humans are the problem with forest fires. So the next day we take our RV down to Williams, Arizona. We jump on the train to go to the Grand Canyon, and we jump on the tour bus there in the Grand Canyon. The guys, he's driving us around. He's telling us, so the hippie told us 90% of the forest fires were caused by humans. The tour bus driver says 90% of the forest fires are called by
someone's right.
Well, he said they're caused by lightning. We're driving through the Grand Canyon and there's fire trucks everywhere. It's a cloudy day, and you can see all the lightning strikes. And I'm going with the lightning strikes because it's more likely that when you're having a storm to go through that it's going to hit something, cause a fire. There are, I mean, you can track down the human related ones, but the fact is you need forest fires to make the forest healthy. Right. That's just the fact of the thing. So
just like a bear market sell-off.
It's healthy. It gets rid of the undergrowth.
It's rid of the weak hands.
Yeah, well, I mean, the bear market of 2000 was really, I didn't like it because I was helping clients in it, but it was probably one of the healthiest ones. It got a lot of junk out of the economy. I mean, there were companies that didn't even have a business model that were trading on markets back then, and that's just not healthy for our economy.
That hype was happening not that long ago. What were those stocks called?
Oh yeah. They were the blank check stocks.
Yeah,
the last year, that's almost everything that went public were the blank check stocks.
Buy on the dip. That's all you heard.
Yeah. It was a crazy time, and I think Donald Trump bought one to compete with Twitter. He bought one of those things and they were doing things. And then Elon Musk undermined that deal because when he bought Twitter out, people thought maybe Twitter would be more of an objective messenger of information, but I don't even remember which one was his. But then we also had all those Reddit stocks last year too that were the same thing, like
stocks.
Yeah, GameStop.com and like
I haven't heard one of those for a while.
Yeah, there's been a couple. I can't think of the one I heard a couple of weeks ago, but it would Bed Bath and Beyond was sometime last year, and just craziness. But yeah, be careful with your capital out there, friends. Well, there's somebody that wants your money.
I think it's Warren Buffett who said that he buys businesses and businesses that he knows and understands And I get that, but you really don't know. I mean, you could pick the company that
Yeah.
you know and understand. Darden Restaurants, I think they own like all the places that you might be familiar going out to eat, like Olive Garden or something like that. But do you really know what's going on inside? Well, we don't know.
Well, a lot of our friends owned AT&T where they had the copper cable coming into your house. And it was like, they called it a widows and orphans thing where the dividend checks were
Right.
coming in every month. And we broadcast for probably a decade that they are not earning the dividend, that they're sending out their capital. And we can, I mean, if you want to jump in, I mean, we're not recommending selling, buying, or owning AT&T, but we can just show you what happened with that as an example. It seems like something that would have been the right place to be if it was the same stock, but it wasn't the stock that some of our friends worked at all, because
Did you share that?
not yet. I was getting it so it's clear,
Gotcha.
so I'm not showing anything that yeah. So and we're not giving a buy or sell, we're just picking a stock to go with our conversation. So here's AT&T.
Monthly.
Well, I'm just showing how volatility it is now. Like this is just what we've talked about in the last few weeks, where you've got volatility, and that's a lot of volatility there. That's a 22 to 16. That's a third. It dropped a third, rallied back, dropped a third. Then if we go with the weekly, we've just got a trend line on it. I mean, we can connect the bottoms and the tops on it. Then if we go with a monthly, it doesn't get any better. If we go all the way back here to 2000 and connect these tops at some level, connect the bottoms at some level, this stock has done nothing.
Look at that RS rating there, Keith.
Yeah, 19 over here. It says relative to the stock market, how does AT&T as a stock? It is amongst the worst performers. And so even though it pays a dividend, it was paying a dividend for a long time, but what it was doing was paying out a return of capital, and so they were bleeding their balance sheet. That means if I were a corporation and I had a balance sheet and I was bleeding it out, it would just mean as I was getting older, instead of me building up my assets, I'm borrowing more. And we've been anti-reverse mortgages for a long time, telling you that's not a good plan. Really what they've been doing to their balance sheet was just like a reverse mortgage. And so there's a lot of companies that you think you may know, but they may not be what you thought they were.
But what you can know, here's what you can know. And this is another reason we love the stock market. It's what you can know are prices. You can know the amount of shares being traded, and these things you can know about companies that maybe you recognize their names, or companies that you don't recognize their names. They all have a price, and they all have a certain amount of shares that are being bought and sold on a certain day. And so the supply and demand of the stock market is what you can know, and it's what you can make a decision based off of. You don't know what a certain company is going to do in the future. You don't know that their past will transfer into better days, better results. But what you can know is this price going up or down, the bottom line?
Yeah, and so here's the S&P 500, and we've been kind of telling you all that we're getting more optimistic, and it really has had some good days in the last
Look at all that buying.
yeah, right here's what Doug's talking to. If you look down here and you see this blue, we've finally seen buying coming into it, even though it looks like, this market bottomed out over here. If you look at the volume down here over the last 6 months, it's just been a lot of red mixed in with the blue. But just in the last what is that, like 8 days, it's been swamped by buyers on the upside. And so maybe something new starting here. It's kind of exciting.
The bullish attitude, there's definitely a bullish attitude that's out there right now, and it's being reflected right here on this stock chart. Several stocks trading above their 200-day, and indexes trading above their 200-day. Several trading above their 50-day moving average. And these are the things that we've been talking about for the past year and a half or so that we really like to see. And people are getting bullish. I noticed on the American Association of Individual Investors, 45% of the survey taken here in the last week were bulls, which is the highest I've seen it in about a year and a half. And so does that mean that the sell-off's going to start on Monday? I don't know. But what we will continue to do is just track and see what is going on with price and volume.
Yeah, we probably mentioned it a few weeks ago. A lot of people will say sell in May and go away, and that really wouldn't have been a good plan in 2023.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this is that indicator I've been putting together for us for a year or so, and it just shows you of the total stocks in our database. There's 9,700 of them, and this is the number of those stocks that are trading below the either the 2150 or the 200-day. And just 3 weeks ago, we had pretty much all of them. The masses were trading below those 200-day, 50-day, and 21-day moving
So when
average.
it's white, it's above. When it's yellow, it's
saying more than 50% are above those indices or those averages, which just basically says you can't be in an upward trend when everything is trending downwards. And it's just,
I love the simplicity of that.
I can't remember if it was Will Rogers or Mark Twain, one of those guys said, if you buy stocks, only buy ones that are going up, and if they don't go up, don't buy them, kind of thing. And it's kind of the idea is if everything's going down, it's probably not a good time to be buying stocks. But we've finally seen that, and I'll share the S&P again here, and you can kind of see what we're talking about here. See how this is curving and shaping like a bowl or something here. That's healthy stock market activity there, that when you bottom, you're starting to curve up. It's just saying, hey, now it's a little safer time to get invested. You're if you're 20, you can buy over here while things are pointing down. You've got time as a 20-year-old. If you're 60, you probably don't want to jump on this wave, at least not with your wealth on that way down, because we can take you to a number of times where that would have really been very devastating to your family's well-being.
Let's go and run through the other indices real quick. Just the NASDAQ will show the strength of the NASDAQ has been leading the way in this rally, and been great to see. The NASDAQ stocks are primarily going to be companies that are growth oriented. They're not too worried about dividend. And so these are companies that are reinvesting in themselves. They're companies that are buying other companies, technology motivated. But this run up has been very strong with the NASDAQ.
It has. It's been a good run. The stocks crossed above this 13.8 level here, which was really kind of where we were a year ago almost. And so that we basically were just catching up with where the market was a year ago.
Zoom to the weekly, or switch over to the weekly there. And this is something we've touched on in the past, and you can see that peak of this, that 16,212, that was back right around Thanksgiving.
2021, yeah.
Thanksgiving of 2021. And so still got a ways to go, but it has been encouraging.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't show you all the smaller companies too. We can go to the S&P 600. And this is one we were talking about a couple of weeks ago that it didn't look very good, and it's really starting to shape up. And we made a little buy in this. Was it last week we made a little buy in this because of the health, and it's kind of coming out above both the 200-day and the 50-day moving average. And in this thing, it's been struggling a lot longer. It goes back to really 2020 over here, where it really hadn't gone anywhere. And then it's still in a downward trend, but this thing might have some opportunity. If it gets a head of steam behind it, it might do something interesting.
Let's show one last chart. Let's show the VIX. It's something we look at from time to time, and it just is it's a data reading of how volatile the market is. And as you can see, where when these this is kind of different. When you see lower levels, that's good. This is where we like to see things low. And you can see the trend has been moving down, which has been great for stock investors.
Yeah, and historically, the safest time, and there's not ever a safe time to be in the market, the market's always risky, has been the best time to put your capital at risk is below this 20 number. And you can see the volatility we've had over the last year has been really beyond that 20. If I do the weekly, I think it gets really I'll show you the weekly. I think it gets really crowded when I do this. Yeah.
This
But-
is this is a tough chart to look at for probably a lot of people, just a lot of lines, but
Yeah, but you can see this red line. If I were able to overlay the markets with these times when this is below 20, these would be the times that it probably was pretty safe to buy and hold, like to have your money in the market during those times below 20. And that's why we've got clients more invested in the last few weeks as the volatility is coming down.
yeah, that looks good.
What else do we need to look at out here, Doug?
I can't think of anything else on the market front. Just supply and demand. That's what we look at every day, is how many shares are being traded. Do people want them or not? And is the price reflective of that?
I saw this earlier today. I thought I'd show you this supply and demand. I can't really wrap my brain around this chart here because I don't. There's just a lot of things in life I don't understand. Like I'm fairly gifted with math, but I just can't get my brain to wrap around things. Like on the east side of Hamilton County, out by the reservoir out there, I could never get my brain around how so many people had so much money to have those houses, right? And so then to wrap my brain around big numbers is just really challenging. And so this struck me that there are more people living inside this circle than outside of it around the world. And so as you're thinking about supply and demand, this is a lot of supply right here in these things that really dominates where probably the economies of the 21st century are going to come from. I mean, we're used to thinking over here in this section of it, but in the long term, this is probably going to have an influence on the world economies. So
Where did you find it?
I was doing a little surfing to bring something new and exciting to our show today, Doug.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, it's pretty. There's just a lot to learn when you think beyond your norm, I think, and sometimes broadening your horizons means getting outside of your comfort zone.
Thinking beyond the norm, you mentioned your RV trip in 2006. This past week, I had the pleasure of hanging out with a friend and a business owner, and he was just expressing that it's tough to keep it going.
Keep the business going.
Yeah, and just keep the mindset going. And he was expressing the need for a sabbatical, and I thought, man, Keith took a sabbatical in 2006, right? Or it was 2005.
Yeah.
In
2006.
And one of the things that I remember about your sabbatical is this really 3-stage approach, if I remember correctly. You took a trip with the family.
Yes,
You spent some time on spiritual things,
I did.
and then you spent some time on like business oriented. What's this going to look like in the future? And I don't know if it was equal parts.
Well, there was even a bigger part than all three of those combined was the preparation part.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you remember that I give you 3 calls. Is that what?
Yeah.
Yeah. So Doug had to, I don't know. I said, put on your big boy pants is all.
Yeah.
I just said, I don't want you calling me, and because I wanted my brain to check out. So it probably took 1.5 years, 2 years in advance preparing just to unplug, which was probably one of the biggest leap of faith I ever had. It was to say, here you go, Doug.
Yeah, well, that was confidence in God, not confidence in Doug. But I want to share this with you guys because you might be there. And this is a really important part of your retirement plan, because by Keith doing that, he was able to recharge and run this race a little longer. And so that might be where you are, and you might need to recharge. You want to keep going, but you just need something to catch your breath. And every racer does that. Every high performer goes through those times. And this might be a great time. Summer's a great time to just pause. Maybe it's a day or a weekend and start thinking, what does this look like for me for the next 5 years, 7 years? And what would a pause look like? And it probably sounds like this. That's impossible. I can't do that. I don't have the people. I don't have the money, whatever it is. But that pause, you could call Keith. I mean, I did it for about 4 weeks, but you could call Keith. He's done it longer, but it might be a great piece of your financial plan.
It's really interesting you brought this up because this idea has been on my head this week, and we didn't talk about this at all. spoke with a banker friend of mine this week, and he's a banker at a small bank in northern Indiana, and I was just talking to him about the Silicon Valley bank situation, that these bankers were sitting out in Silicon Valley. They think they had the world just under control, and all of a sudden, because they could do things with their phone, they're out of business within 48 hours, something 72 hours at the most.
Yeah.
And so imagine you're a small banker anywhere in the world, and you saw what happened to Silicon Valley. You're probably staring at the ceiling at night. You're probably not sleeping well. You're probably pondering. And so this fellow's a banker in a small town, and he told me he was reading the book Thank You for Being Late. And the idea is that the technology in life moves so much faster than our physical bodies can move. And this book explains some of the technology and why it moves so fast. And it makes a lot of sense. But when do you have time just to be quiet? And that's what this guy had a business meeting, and the guy was running late, and he was all apologetic. And he thought, no, thank you for being late. I actually just had some time to just not do anything. And a sabbatical, that's what it really is being quiet, thinking through things. And
I spent 72 hours without my phone last Thursday night to Sunday, and it was an incredible time not to have my phone on me. And when I turned it back on Sunday, I just impulsively went back to a couple news sites I like to look at, and I was like, what am I doing here? It's just conditioned, and there's, I don't know how many Google engineers fighting against us. If you're a Google engineer, we'd still like to have you as a client, but they're
maybe, I don't know.
And so there's this pause, or maybe an encouragement, an accountability, something where someone says, hey man, what would it be like if you did take a break?
These things are absurd and crazy. I heard the statistic today, and I hate to throw it out there to you folks, but you tuned in and you can get it. In a survey, 60% of the South Korean people said they would give up sex for a year more than they would give up their telephone for a year. I'm like, this thing has become addictive for people. And so the idea of a sabbatical, yeah, Freud would be losing his mind. He wouldn't know what to do. But I also, I had an opportunity to encourage somebody today this week, that they were struggling to have sleep. Like they're doing well with their vocation, but they're not finding the piece to get good sleep. And that some of that is this velocity of technology, the velocity of expectations. And I've talked about the 5 principles that I've found to be the most important ones, having been a successful financial advisor all these years. But the first one is to think differently and to buy wisdom. And we love talking about the market. We think that's just a lot of fun, but it doesn't matter how much money you have. It doesn't matter how well you're doing financially if you're not living your fullest life. And so if you're struggling with balancing these things out, or somebody that's struggling with it, I can't think of anything Doug and I would enjoy encouraging people more, is how to take the resources you've had and live your fullest life with them.
I was telling Keith about Chris Schenkel. Chris Schenkel was a sports broadcaster, the first of many sports broadcasting on television, football.
I remember him from the Olympics, is what I remember him
The
from.
Olympics.
Yeah.
His big thing is bowling.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, his big thing is bowling. But I was sharing with him that he had a house on a lake in northern Indiana, that he moved his family from Manhattan to this house on Lake Tippy in Kosciuszko County in 1971. And his kids at that time, I think, were like 18, 14, and 10.
Wow.
And so it took guts to do that. Now he would still travel. He had an airplane. He had traveled to like Chicago, from Warsaw to Chicago, and then back to Manhattan or whatever. But he would spend 3 days a week at home, and he'd shut it all down when he was at home. That's pretty cool. Just have his priorities set like that.
Yeah, and boy, sorting through, I left a friend a voicemail today, and I said, I'm praying today that you will have the wisdom to say yes to the excellent things in life, and no to the good things. And there's just so much coming at you, and to have wisdom to be able to sort through those things. One of the things I did this weekend is I was pondering like this stuff in this one part of an attic in our house, and I just had my son-in-law in town, and he helped me pull it down. And I just sat out in the driveway with it, and it was like 3 or 4 boxes.
Go get another box, Kevin. I'll be right here in my lawn chair, is what I just heard.
It was. And so we're sitting out there, the neighbors are walking by, I'm sorting through these things, and it was just a blast. I pulled out my high school yearbooks and I looked at them. I thought, why have I been saving these things? I don't want to look at them right now. I'm not sure I ever looked at them.
Yeah.
So they went in the trash can. I had my old basketball and baseball pictures. I'm looking at them and I'm thinking, my kids, they don't need, like, who needs this? It's not like I was and so I kept a few of those and I threw those things out. And as I went through that, it was just really refreshing. It's like, I don't have to pack this junk around anymore, and I can focus on more important things. And that reminds me to tell you guys, July is our shredder month. So if you got junk you need to get rid of, bring it over here and we will shred that. We'll turn it into dust for you. But sometimes clutter can get in the way of your peace of mind, and just getting rid of junk that just isn't part of the excellent parts of your life. Today you're free. Didn't you say that's Thursdays to get rid of something?
Yeah, Thursday, Bob he gets rid of something or quits something every Thursday. I kind of like that.
Yeah, there's something you need to quit, like something you're saying, I'm gonna do this someday. You're not. Today's the day to get rid of it.
And you can do it. That's the other thing is you can. And if you want to share a success with me, gosh, I'd love to hear it, because success begets success, and then you just keep going. The same with discipline. So if you have a win, we'd love to hear it. Selfishly, we'd love to hear it.
I'll tell you one last story, because I didn't know that I was going to make it in this business. I had months where my rent was greater than my commissions, and in 1984 was the first time I ever saw Sam's Club. I don't know if I told you the story, and I walked in, I'm like, what is this place? And I had money, and then I walked to this one thing, and they had baseball cards in a box like this, right?
Okay.
And I'm like, oh, that's fun. I bought baseball cards when I was a kid, so I bought some of those, and then I opened them up and I threw them in a box. One of those things that follow me around. Well, in the mid to late 80s, those things were going crazy, and I was able to sell some of those cards for like hundreds of dollars to help pay rent. And then I bought some more, and they weren't worth anything. And I had them in one of those Rubbermaid containers that you stockpile and move junk around in. And that was one of the things Kevin pulled down from the attic. And I opened it up, and I'm like, why do I still have these things? And there's a friend of ours, one of our friends, he deals in baseball cards, and he just does it for a hobby to use in his older years. And I thought, I'm gonna give him a quick call. It turns out he was less than 5 minutes away. Came over, sat in the driveway. We talked about it. I gave him some other things, and he took those things, and he's gonna be able to give them to young kids.
Another man's treasure.
That's exactly what he said. You're gonna make a lot of kids' days with these things. So if there's stuff that you don't know what to do with, I bet you'll find a home for it. What else I need to know today, Doug?
Just live and enjoy life. And if you are concerned about your finances and investments, that's why you pay us. We're here for that. We're here for the phone call. And so keep in touch with us.
And we are grateful for your friendship. We're grateful to be able to serve you in the ways that we do. And we're grateful for the time that you've invested with us as well. Because all of you that are on here, we have learned from you, and you've taught us things that we've helped others. If there's other things you think we need to know, we're open-minded and listening. Have a great weekend.
See you guys.